Ernie, congratulations on being elected to the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
So how old were you when you started bowling?
12 years old. Yeah, I can remember neighbor came knocking on my door. And back then, you just screamed the name, Ernie. And it was Saturday morning. And you know what happens Saturday morning? Cartoons. So this kid's knocking on my door, screaming my name, and I go up there and I says, "What do you want?" He's like, "We need a bowler across the street, South Lanes." And we lived right across the street from South Lanes, And I was like, "Do you know what today is?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's Saturday. We got youth bowling." I says, "No, it's cartoons." And he got me to go over there, and I bowled 168 that day. And I remember I had the high game for the Bantams, and from that point on, I was glued. I was like, okay, Saturday is bowling now. No more cartoons.
Okay, so were you ever I know your dad bowls.
Yeah.
And probably has bowled since before you, right?
Right, yep.
So you'd been into a bowling center prior to that. So what's your first recollection of being in a bowling center? I mean, did you go watch your dad bowl?
Yeah, my dad bowled in Detroit, a lot of Detroit centers, Clark Park Bowl. What was another, right down that road, Verner Road, there was other Beacon Bowl, I think. So yeah, I was, he would travel, he was in the traveling league, proprietor travel league on Tuesdays, I think, to travel. And I would travel along with him, and watch the guys, and some pretty awesome bowlers in Detroit,
Yeah, for sure. So at what point in your life did you fall in love with bowling?
Like I said, right when I was 12 years old, I went to the bowling center, and it's right across the street from my house. So, once I got in there and learned about what was going on, it was like, oh yeah, this is for me. I love the game, love to knock the pins down. I mean, where can you go, throw a big old bowling ball and make noise and knock stuff down? I mean, that's perfect for a kid, right? So, but yeah, that was something I enjoyed to do, and just spent a lot of time doing it when I was in my youth years.
Okay, of all the memories you have of your participation in this sport, what's the fondest?
Fondest? Probably the PBA. When I turned 50, my job went away, and it was perfect timing. It was like, hey, I turned 50, I can bowl the PBA 50 tour. And at the time, some of the big names were still out there and bowling the 50 tour. And so I'm like, well, okay. I was 45, I told myself, I got to get ready for this, And at 45, I hired a personal trainer, ran, I did a lot of things to prepare. And I was ready when I turned 50, and went out there, and it's just, bowling some of the big names, all the big names.
Oh, yeah.
And I bowled against them, And it was funny, one time I was out in Florida, and my wife went with me, and they had a list of the guys that I had to compete against. And there was guys sitting next to her, she was in the stands there, and they go, boy, your husband's got some tough matches there. There was Johnny Petraglia, some other names, and my wife's like, he ain't scared, he's done this before, he's ready, and I did good. I think I finished 12th that tournament. So a lot of fun, yeah. It was awesome times.
So what are some of your greatest accomplishments in bowling?
So, winning 2 PBA regional titles. Obviously the Masters, you were here when I won the Senior Masters.
Right.
And, 2015 Senior Masters in Jackson, that was one of them there. Like I said, I was traveling a lot, trying to get that PBA title, and it took me 5 years on the road. I was going East region, South region, Central region, whatever region. I figured if I could travel 10 hours You know, I work 10 hours a day, you know, sometimes. I says, well, if I can work 10 hours a day, I can travel 10 hours a day and go bowl. So yeah, once I won the one out in the East region, Pottsville, Pennsylvania, I won my first singles there, and then I went to Canton, Ohio, and we won a doubles, was that a 50-60 with Kenny Parks. That was pretty awesome. There were some big names in that tournament. So yeah, those three things there were probably the biggest accomplishments that I've done in bowling.
So what does bowling mean to you?
You know, I mean, my wife always says, Ernie, all you know is 3 holes in a weight block. And I mean, it's the truth, you know. I mean, it's like my dad growing up, he had 3 tools in his toolbox. He had tape, he had a Phillips screwdriver and a hammer, you know. So I didn't learn too much. I just learned from him. I learned to bowl. And, you know, I love bowling, and it means a lot to me. I mean, everything I think about is preparing myself for the next, you know, I got to have, you know, the right equipment. You know, luckily I've been on staff with a couple of manufacturers that have really helped me out. Recently, Hammer. I've been on, you know, Hammer staff for about 10 years now, and that's helped me. And then Turbo, also been on Turbo staff. So I really appreciate those companies helping me out and become prepared and be ready to compete, you know, at every level.
So how did you feel when Phil called you and told you you'd been elected to the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame?
Well, you know, it was funny because I had just come back from Iowa, and I bowled the senior Olympics out there, and I had won the gold in my age group, and it was just kind of just like it was like perfect timing. You know, when Phil called me and told me, I was still on a high from that, and I was like, wow, this is even better, you know. And yeah, it was great timing, and you know, I was highly honored to be elected into the Hall of Fame. Always something I've always dreamed about doing. I mean, there's times where I was in the shower thinking about what I was going to say in my speech, you know. But now I actually got to do a speech now, you know. But I'm ready. You know, this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
So what does it mean to be a Hall of Famer?
You know, it was funny because when I bowled and got my first title, you know, got the title, PBA title, I was like, what am I going to do now? That was my biggest goal. You know, I was like, well, I got to quit, you know. Then I thought to myself, this is the best bowling I've been bowling, and it's like, I can't quit now. I'm bowling the best I've bowled. So now with the Hall of Fame, I'm thinking, well, usually a Hall of Fame, you know, end of the career type thing and that. Now I'm thinking I'm going to get some Hall of Fame carry. So I got to continue on so I can get some Hall of Fame carry and beat up more guys and win more things.
Oh. So at what point in your life did bowling become something more meaningful to you?
I guess when I bowled Cecil Ward Travel, you know, Cecil Ward put together, you know, the great travel league that we had, and then we had some tournaments, and one of my accomplishments was winning the state All-American title here in Michigan, and then travel on and bowl against like Mike Albee from Indiana and some other top name players from that area. So yeah, I mean, as soon as Cecil Ward, and I was excelling in Cecil Ward, and then the tournaments, and then from there, you know, we rolled into, you know, Ken Charette had Michigan Majors, and, you know, in your tournaments, you know, Mark, you had the Masters and things like that. So, and I competed in all of that, you know. So I knew at that point, you know, God gave me something special, and I just ran with it, and yeah, it's been a great career, great bowling career for me.
But your career's not over.
No, I got the Hall of Fame carry. I just told you.
So what does your future hold in bowling?
So, you know, like like I said, I just got back from Iowa. We bowled the Olympics, the Senior Olympics. I plan on keep bowling in that. That's a great tournament. So I plan on doing that. The SSO, I know there's a couple other tournaments, but since I've got PBA titles, they won't let me bowl. So, but you know, I mean, they have rules. But yeah, I still plan on competing. I know I go out to the east side. I live downriver, but a lot of the leagues, you know, when COVID happened, kind of disbanded. So a lot of the leagues that are still competitive for seniors are on the east side. So I go out to Sterling, out to Bowl 1, and bowl in some competitive leagues there too.
So while your career isn't over, looking back over your career, what does all of that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know, a lot of times you don't really have time to you know, as an athlete, you know, you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and you don't really have time to say, wow, you know what I mean? I did that, you know, and you know, I know a few people where, you know, I turned in, you know, my accomplishments, and they're like, oh, that's good, but you know, you got to win the Masters. And I was like, well, I did win the Masters. And he says, well, you got to win again. And I'm like, win again? You know, it's tough enough to win one Masters, you know, to win again. But yeah, it's a thing of, it's you know, I guess when my career is going to be over with, I can just sit back and look at my accomplishments and say, wow, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, that is pretty good. You know, it's deserving of becoming a Hall of Fame member.
Okay, we're done with the standard questions. I got a couple others for you.
Okay.
Though. So you won the state senior masters in 2015, like
Yep.
you talked about. So tell me about that day or that weekend, if whatever you recollect.
So again, preparation. You know, we had gone out there. Me and Jimmy DePlanche bowled that tournament together. We traveled together, and that's the other thing. I mean, when you're bowling, it's just not you. You know, it's a team. You know, and you have your friends and your family, and so they're helping you become successful. And so me and Jimmy went out there. I think it was on a Friday, and we called and said, "Hey, are you going to put the shot out?" You know, and they said, "Yeah, come on down. We got a couple lanes." You know, and I think they allowed that back then. So I went out there and I practiced on it, and I kind of got a good feel, you know, of where I needed to play. You know, what equipment to use, things like that. So I came back the next day. It was still there. You know, so I was prepared. I was confident. You know, and then like I told you in that interview that we did. I stayed in the winner's bracket. So that in itself, you know, I mean, to stay in the winner's bracket is a good thing, you know, because then you don't have to bowl all day. You know, you can rest in between matches, you know, and recompose yourself and get ready for, you know, what you got coming on. And I know it was that was kind of a unique situation because the person that I bowled for the title, we actually crossed together the day before and qualified together. And he had gone to the loser's bracket, I think, like real early in the matches. And then we got together at the end, and I looked at him, and I says, we can do this all day. You got to beat me twice, you know. And he had this big old dirt mark on him, you know, and his thumb was all tore up and his fingers, and he kind of looked at me and he's like, oh gosh, you know. Maybe.
Who was that?
He was out of Lansing, a left-hander.
Mark Abraham?
Yeah, Mark Abraham.
Okay.
That was his name, yeah.
Okay.
Great guy.
Yes.
Another great guy.
Did you do some high school coaching?
I did.
Okay.
I did. So
tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my daughter, Alyssa, she was bowling for Kennedy, Taylor Kennedy. And I had taught her bowling, you know, since she was so high, you know, she was a youth. And I was worried that somebody was going to get in there and change her around. And I said, you know what? And at the time I wasn't working. I think I was bowling a little bit of tour. And it was off season. So I talked to the coach there and I says, hey, you know, I got time. I says, you know, I want to coach. And he goes, okay, but he goes, you can't have the girls. He goes, the girls are mine. You got the boys. And I says, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna stand back though and watch you. And you know, and when we kind of worked together, and I got the boys to make it to states. He got the girls to make it to states. You know, my daughter had a great bowling career in high school, and yeah, that was pretty awesome to be able to work with the kids and see the successes that they had. You know, while I was coaching.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you 5 rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite ice cream?
You know, I always see pistachio, and I've never had it, but I want it. You know, it sounds really good. But I like turtle. I like anything with caramel. I'm a caramel kind of guy. But yeah, that next on my list is pistachio. I want to try that.
Okay, so if you never got into bowling, what leisure or sport activity would you be doing?
So golf. I love golf. Golf really clears my head. You get out there on the course, and you know, it's too bad in Michigan that we can't play year round. You know, but yeah, I mean, I've really kind of picked up the sport of golf and enjoy that.
What's the weirdest leave you ever left?
5, 7, 10. I was in Fort Wayne. We were bowling a PBA tournament, and I mean, yeah, you don't want to do that in the PBA, but I did, you know.
What about your favorite beverage while bowling?
While bowling, well, now it's water. Back in the day, you know, I've tried everything. You know, I mean, there's a bar and a bowling alley everywhere you go. So, but yeah, water's good for me, you know.
What about your favorite concession food in a bowling center?
Grilled cheese, and then they come with those big pickles, and you know, they give you this cup that's got these pickles in it, and it's like, I got a few guys on my team kind of, they steal my pickles, but yeah, it's all in good, you know. But yeah, grilled cheese and pickles.
Okay, you got one last thing to do.
Okay.
You're going to look right straight here.
Okay.
And you're going to say, hi, I'm Ernie Segura Jr., member of the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame, class of 2025.
Hi, I'm Ernie Segura, member of the Metro Detroit Hall of Fame, class of 2025.
Do it again. Do it again.
Do it again?
Yeah.
What is it, Metro? What is it, Metro?
It's Detroit. Technically, it's Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame.
Detroit Bowling Hall of
But
Fame?
Metro Detroit
Metro
Hall of Fame
Detroit.
is fine. I
Okay.
mean, whatever is more comfortable for you.
Uh-huh. Okay. Hi, I'm Ernie Segura Jr., member of the 2025 class, Metro Detroit Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Try
Good.
One more time.
One more time.
So what do you want him to say? Metro Detroit?
It doesn't matter.
Well, but it does to him because he needs to. You need to think it through, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you want to say?
Hi,
Say
I'm
that
Ernie-
again the first time you said
Hi,
it.
I'm Ernie Segura Jr., member of the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame, class of 2025.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Ernie Segura, member of. I'm bad. Okay. What was that you said again? That was a good time though. That was good.
Member of the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame, class of 2025.
Member of the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame. Hi, I'm Ernie Segura, member of Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame, class of 2025.
Good, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.